Hi, it's Hazel, and welcome to my channel, Hazel and Aka Design. If you got lost on the internet and found me, I'm very grateful and welcome aboard. If you're a regular viewer, welcome aboard. I appreciate both groups of people. And I'm going to, if you know my channel at all, you know that I have some creative playlists. Things like Get Her Done, which was my attempt to tackle some of those projects that had been started or never started or had been sitting around for a long time. I also have another one called Organizing Tips. I have another one called Use It, Don't Store It. And I think today's video will be sort of a combination of organizing, or at least me sharing one aspect of how I store things, and definitely use it, don't store it. But of course, it could also be, using up scraps. It could be how to make a master board, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, just before I sat down, I looked out the window and saw a Canada goose standing on the peak of the barn roof. She looks just like a weather vane without the directional, W, E, N, and S. It's funny, that's not the first time I've seen that bird there, and I just find it unusual because Canada geese, to my understanding, mate for life, maybe that's where the expression bird's eye view came from. It's not the tallest structure in the yard, but anyway, I just thought it looks comical. We know, if you've been to a thrift store, you know how plentiful 3-ring binders are. Everything from, 1 inch to, this one is probably 4 inches. And in the beginning, I thought, oh, binders are such a clever, concise, compact way to store things. So that's what I did for a long time, and still to some degree do. But again, you have to remember to open the binder and take out the goodies and use them. So this one I've marked flowers. And of course, all I've got in here are page protectors. So this is obviously a floral image. And I use just a plain piece of printer paper to sort of contain things from side to side. Now, these things, well, they're flowers, obviously, but they're also a combination of things like this out of a book, Fussy cuts, and so on. And I think to some degree, at least in the beginning, I tried to group colors because that makes more sense. So you probably can't see it all, but that's fine. You can understand the concept. So this morning I decided that I would just look through here and pull out images that could go in the purple journal. Now, I've come now to the pages that have the 9 pockets and are intended for things like hockey cards, baseball cards, whatever. So some of these are digitals that I have, bought over the years. And in the beginning, of course, all I did was buy, print, cut, and put away, often forgetting to actually go back and use them. And that's kind of insane when you think about it. Now, the thing about these, excuse me, these baseball card type things, there's only access from one side. So, although I suppose the top row, you could put something on the back side. But again, maybe it makes it overloads it. This is from some vintage gift wrap. I even have some sentiments. I'm so sorry. Let me have a swig of water, see if that helps. I'm sorry if you can hear the washing machine. I have a main floor laundry, and, Women, gotta multitask, gotta multitask. So anyway, this, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but you can see that it gets, these came out of a coloring book. Here I seem to have put sunflower stuff together. So on and on. These, which of course should be in a purple journal, are those, I think they're called, I think the brand name is Wally's, and they were I don't know if they're, maybe they're adhesive backed, you know, where you wet it and stick it to the wall just like wallpaper. But anyway, hydrangeas, gotta love those. Vintage books. And you can see how much of this I have. More vintage books where the illustrations are probably not the greatest. More gift wrap. Like on and on and on. And this is a big binder. So you can see some of them are like from guidebooks. So I figured, why did I go through all this trouble of buying these resources, these books, or cutting into things that I already owned, and fussy cutting them and sorting them, and then not using them. So that's part of where the use it, don't store it comes in. You also know that I love making masterboards. And I think it's, if you're brand new to this business, you know that it's a very, well, if you enjoy it, I guess it's a very satisfying pastime. And if you don't, you're probably wondering, well, what is the formula? How do I get it just to be so beautiful? Well, number one, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And number two, all of us create different stuff. So I hate using trite expressions because my vocabulary is better than that. But just this once, I'll say, you do you. So I thought, okay, and I'll just, if you're starting out and maybe creating your first masterboard, I would suggest finding a book that perhaps you don't have another use for. This one is 11, I guess, by 8.5, roughly. And creating your masterboards inside the book. It's a very compact way to store them. And it is, and of course, depending on what you do with them in the end, like they could become journal covers, they could become journaling cards and other type of ephemera pockets and belly bands and so on. Probably in every application, you're going to want to cover the back side. I haven't done that yet because that's kind of anticlimactic to me. I've showed these pages multiple times, so I won't get into that. But here's the one that I started before I turned on the camera. In that binder, I had many of these kinds of illustrations. You know, these anatomical, where they're showing you the parts of, in this case, flowers. Maybe they were showing studies that some artist had done in a sketchbook. Some of these came out of art books where they're showing the various stages of how, you know, a piece of art is created. So what I did was I sort of took the ones that were similar in style. I'm just drowning here in stuff around me, and thank goodness you can't see it. Anyway, so these are basically, other than a little yellow, they're basically just, you know, tone on tone. They're very neutral. And then I thought what I would do is, let me tell you one other thing before I begin. I didn't realize that I had created some masterboards further down in this book. So I picked, and I probably showed this in a video, but I picked a page that just basically had this sponging technique demonstrated. And I used some of those stickers, and well, I guess they're probably all stickers or sentiments, that I thought matched. And this could easily become, especially this, which has these two hemispheres, could easily be folded down the middle and become a journaling page. I got another one here, if I'm not mistaken. So this one is just black, white, and gold, again, on a very neutral background. So same sort of concept. I didn't realize there was color stuff in here. I might have to do something about those. Anyway, back to the job at hand. So I have a bunch of these. I don't know that I'll use them in this thing, but I'm just saying, based on those two samples, that these are the kinds of things that could definitely be glued down to a neutral masterboard. They are all stickers, I believe. Now, the common denominator here, of course, is the color. This is gray, though, but, oh, this doesn't really belong here. Anyway, some of these are odd shapes. The ones that were more... See, I thought I would use these as tabs, but if I don't get to that, these could also be added to a masterboard. So I wanted to point that out if you haven't seen or heard that concept before. But I also will show you all the purpley stuff that I pulled out of the binder. Because again, use it, don't store it. So let's take a gander at what I've found. Now there is way, way, way more than could possibly be used on one masterboard. But maybe we should start at the back. So this could even be a journal page. So we'll see if I need that. Here's some clematis with some white thing. Here's like a vintage botanical drawing. This probably came out of a book, an art book on pastels or something. Not sure what that is. This is obviously from an art book. I already talked about that. This came out of another Wally's thing. So it was pansies, and there were bigger ones, and then these small ones. And I know I have more somewhere else. Globe or Canada thistle. Bluebells. So I mean, I've got a lot. Scabiosa, one of my favorites. Scabiosa. There's some very strong flowers in there. So again, a variety of styles and sizes. You know, even I'm not crazy enough to try to fussy cut around something like that. So that would probably be used intact on a page. Globe thistle, another beautiful, beautiful flower. There's one of those hydrangeas. This is from that old guide I showed you. These illustrations are very, well, they look vintage. They're very simplistic. Here's another one, same book. I didn't know that that's what chicory looked like. I don't know, this came out of a book. So anyway, you get the, oh, these are fake tea cards that I bought somewhere, from someone, I mean. Now I have the real McCoy, so why am I not using my authentic ones? But I wouldn't use them on a masterboard. But I should definitely be using these ones that I've already printed. And then some things that have been actually fussy cut. Look at this. This came out of, well, a garden book. This came out of a vintage book, not old enough to be scannable. Oh, another one of these. This is also from that vintage book, as is this one. This is probably out of a landscape book, so I just cut around the... So I should maybe be... Look at this tiny little thing. This was on the packaging from the Wally. So with these teeny weeny ones, wouldn't they make great focal points on there? Again, more... This probably came out of... a book on using herbs or whatever in, you know, making sachets, that sort of stuff. This, I think, this was scrapbooking paper. So I'll put those teeny weeny ones there. Teeny weeny ones. This was out of a coloring book. Now, I didn't bother doing the insides, but I would before using it because I just thought it would make this page even more, I see a hair there, even more fragile than it would be because it would weaken the paper. So anyway, this is what we have to work with. So why don't we tackle this masterboard using some of the items that I said I definitely want to use up. So I have 4 of these. I see I didn't cut around them particularly well. So maybe one, sorry, I should have done this before, but I didn't honestly know what I was going to use it. So I think I've said this, I know I've said this before. I have a collection of rulers, and I keep buying rulers, who knows why. Wonder what that is. Scary. I cut with my knife, I cut into the edge of a ruler to make my own tearing rulers. Now, I know that over time, these do get a little bit blunt. You know, it's funny. I'll leave the name on there. Oh, that says cigarettes. We don't need that. Even the fine art of tearing. In most cases, I prefer to have the narrower part under the ruler because then I have more to grab onto. And I'll show you what I mean. That's the name, so we'll leave that. Oh, crane's bill. That is, another word for that is perennial geranium. And it can be very showy, but man, oh man, is it invasive too. Okay, if I wanted to do it the opposite way, you can imagine how difficult it would be to pick up that little sliver and make that work. So, I mean, that's just something that you discover the hard way when you realize, oh my goodness, that's so frustrating. And again, because, you know, I'm tearing this, it doesn't matter to me if it's particularly even or straight. It would be pretty hard to make it so when there is such a teeny weeny little border. But it's just a wee bit nicer, in my opinion, in this application than it would be having straight edges. Now, I do have some straight edges and those things, but it doesn't matter because that was the base layer. And, whoopsie, that's not a good one. It will be covered with more interesting images. Okay, let's do the last one quickly. And so, of course, now that I've pulled out all those purple things, I will see which of them can get used in these multiple journals that I'm working on. One, and the reason I know when I started this is because, remember way back in January when we were celebrating Carol, from Crinkled Path, both her retirement and her birthday. I was part of a live. Where is it? And we all were using, we started out with Dolly Parton cake boxes. So you have probably seen this. Since you've last seen it, I added this yo-yo and this oversized purple button. Now, you can see that I don't like gator mouth. I will include a closure. So this one is getting pretty close to showing you. And in fact, maybe I've put too much in it already. But I do have more that need to get completed because there is purple everywhere I turn, and I can't seem to move on to anything else until I finish that. So, the whole idea with a masterboard, whether you're going to ultimately use it as, you know, fold it in half this way and use it as signature pages, or if you're going to cut it blind like, is that Rachel at Roxy Creations likes to do, you know, flip the good side down and just randomly cut it from the back, not knowing what you're going to get. Typically, I always try to distribute like items around the page. Let me get rid of these little scraps or they're going to be annoying me for the rest of the video. I do have a little basket for scraps, but do I have any place to bring it close to the action? And just to tell you how badly I need to clean this desktop, I have a toothpick here that I was using probably for E6000. I have, do you remember when Costco was selling those cases off, those boxes off those velvet hangers? Those things are great because they're skinny, they don't take up much space, they're uniform, your closet looks nice, they're non-slip, so camisoles or whatever are not going to fall off because the velveteen sort of grips it. But I'll tell you, even with one item per hanger, we now have a collection, my daughter and I have a collection of so many broken hangers that will be making their way back to Costco. It's not even funny. But why is this here? Who knows? One of those unsolved mysteries. Anyway, so I'm just going to glue these four guys down. I have to say, after seeing countless people, you know, maybe like Gail Augustinelli, because she was one of the first people I started watching, because of course she and Pam at the Paper Outpost come up very high in search results. Was using this a text block as a glue book. I mean, not as a, you know, there are glue books and there are glue books. As a book to apply glue to stuff. So now that I've started doing that, I'm pretty sold on the idea. Number one, because it gets rid of book pages that you don't care about because there's nothing special about them. They have no redeeming quality in terms of, you know, the paper or the text or the layout or anything. I know that some people, if they've gotten, okay, so I just folded that over, not very straight. Okay, let me redo that. Some people make it their business to very neatly fold this over, and in the process, they've made the base for a journal card or a pocket. Well, I can't be bothered with that, to be honest. So I just use them till they're good and sticky, and then throw them out. And don't send the scrapbooking police after me. Okay. Now, I'm probably not going to use something like this because there's only one, but we'll see. We'll reserve the right. Now, if maybe I shouldn't bother. This time, I'm going to break my rule about getting in there and getting more of that white removed. I think this time I'm going to forget that. I know a lot of people don't bother with it. So maybe I could be a lot of people this time. And I've got, I'm sure I should have more of these, but it seems I don't. The other thing I could do, and I will do, is just kind of cut this in half and pretend that I had two of them. And that way, maybe this becomes an edge. Maybe this becomes an edge here. And then at least it's not just where did that one thing fall? Did that one thing fall from the sky? Or how did that happen? Oh, I have these guys too that are more an intermediate size. I have that. I could use this on the edge of a page. And probably that is plenty for one masterboard. So let's start gluing some stuff down. I have to say that when I started that binder, number one, I'd never heard of the term fussy cutting before. And before long, you know, you figure it out and you think, oh, yeah, that's great. And it's a very meditative thing to do, especially if you have some decent scissors and aren't causing yourself pain. It's just kind of really nice to do that. I think that is beautiful enough to use on its own. Yeah, I'll reserve those for something else. I'll just use these little dainty ones and basically just begin gluing them down kind of where I've got them. This tends to be more I can get rid of some of this. More pastel, more delicate than perhaps is my preference. But again, you know, it's a big wide world, and I and others can be open to a variety of things. Yeah, that's a bit better. Can I do that? I can do that here as well. So I guess I hope that in the comments you tell me if you love doing master boards. Do they come easily for you, or are they something that you agonize over? And I'm here to tell you that, well, and I know we should never compare ourselves to anyone else, but I find them easy and addictive. What else can I do? Maybe this side I'll leave because it has that other tone in it. I would venture to offer that master boards are like most other things. The more you do them, the better you get at it, the more you find your rhythm, and they become enjoyable. And of course, you know, whether you cut them up and use them, or if you just keep them in a book just because they make you happy, is, you know, your final decision. I think everything else can probably be used as is. So I'll just quickly start gluing these down. Oh, some of the fine ones will need art glitter glue probably. I hope that you are well. This is a Monday when I'm taping this. And according to the weatherman, we're in for 3 days of rain, which, I mean, it would be great because I think we're definitely in a drought condition. But so far, all it's done is basically spit a little here. So, you know, the distribution of rain is pretty patchy and random, near as I can tell. And, you know, if you know farmers, if you are a farmer, if you know farmers, or if you heard one of the stereotypical claims about farmers, you know that we're never happy. It's either too hot, too cold, too wet, too dry. So in keeping with that, let me just say that, so I say to my husband, well, aren't you getting out into the field? And he says, well, it's wet. I'm thinking, oh my goodness. I said, but we were in a drought situation. isn't the ground so, cracked and dry that it just slurped up that inch of rain that we got? Like, I can see that, the people that got 2 inches of rain, they may have a bit of an issue, especially depending on what type of soil it is. Like, we know that gumbo is very clay-based and it almost never dries. Sandy soil, which is kind of what we have, it tends to, moisture tends to percolate down. So, I don't know. So that just proved positive that farmers are never happy. Especially if you go farmer to farmer trying to figure out what would please them. I wonder, this may be a little too crowded in this corner. Maybe that's better. And again, I've said it a million times. At this point, we're essentially creating a base. Once this gets cut up, and maybe this time just for the heck of it, to prove to you that I can cut up a masterboard, maybe when I get these flowers glued down, if we're still okay time-wise, maybe I'll just quickly cut it up and we'll see what we see. Now you can see that if it weren't for those fake tea cards, this would be a very, what do I want? I don't know, is patchy the right word? It would be a very much almost a shotgun approach to where the images have landed. They're basically all the same size, basically all the same color value. So, they could theoretically even be just a journal page as is, like almost a background paper. But we'll see once it gets cut up. I suspect then I will be adding more to it. So in the comments, please tell me what you're working on. Are you doing a no, where did I get this one from? Are you doing a volume series of journals, or do you have more self-control than I do and do one at a time? I think maybe and again, I don't mean to batter myself up because goodness knows that's not productive. But I think maybe what the problem or the issue is with me is that I decide, okay, I'm going to collect, I want to do a whatever themed thing. So then, okay, let's use Peacock Journal as an example. I've seen some beautiful Peacock journals. So naturally I think, well, can't I do a Peacock journal? Because of the richness, the beautiful colors, the textures. So I start out with one of those bins, covered bins that I can buy at Dollarama, because they hold they're bigger than a normal piece of paper. So, you don't have to cut things up prematurely to make them fit. And before you know it, everywhere I look, I see peacock colors, things, textural, fibers, fabric. Before you know it, the thing is overflowing. And I think to myself, well, not that I've gotten to that point. I just know that there is more there than could ever fit in one journal. Whoops. See, the problem with these little tiny delicate things that have been fussy cut is It does take a little vigilance to make sure that they're totally glued down. I didn't do that one very well, I see. Okay, we're going to be just ruthless here and rip this out of this book. And if I see anything that needs a little dab of something, I will. I'm not going to, I don't want to take the time now to glue backing on it, but of course I have a lot of end papers. I have coffee and tea dyed and other kind of dyed paper that would work at the back. Let's get rid of this, make a little more space here. Let's move these guys out of the way. See, now at this point, adding any of this, I think would be wrong, but maybe before I totally write off the idea, let's just see. Well, it definitely changes the look. I wouldn't want to use triangles as triangles. Oh dear, I didn't really think that's how this was going to go. But maybe it would be a happy result. I won't use the circle, I don't think. Yeah, not the circle. Do I want, well, I'll cut these two guys out and see. I could be reaching the point of saturation here. I could run that off the edge of the page. Yeah, maybe I'll cut these guys in half, or not half. See, I guess this prevented me, again, you know, should try to be a little more daring sometime. This prevented me from having a really little pastel-y kind of thing that, so I guess maybe it says to me that that's not something I really care for, so by hook or by crook, I'm going to find a way not to do it. Maybe I could use something a little busier in this corner, and maybe that there, that there, this here. Okay, that's because I put the glue book away. Because of course, you know that I'm going to add a glue stick to this. And then we're going to cut it up, I promise. Oh, how did I manage to smear glue on there? I'd lift it up, but then I'd scatter all my pieces. Why? Well, okay, finally it moves. Oh dear. I have been trying to play catch up with replying to comments. So know that I do see them all. I do answer them all, and I'm talking about 99.9% of the time it's with an actual comment, not just a heart. So, because I can still, manage to do that. I realize if people get hundreds of comments, that would not be probably feasible. I am in the throes of getting ready for being a guest seller on Angela, the Traveling Crafter's live sale. That's coming up May 16th. So the house is taking on, not just because of that, but certainly between having, a shop on the Maker's Market, an Etsy store, a coffee shop, the house is taking on, boy, this is kind of a poor choice to put that there. It blends in so much. Why don't I lift it and move it? Let's put that there and put this here. Let's reapply some glue. Anyway, with all of those things, the house is taking on the look of a warehouse. And I really, it's untenable. So the sooner I can be done with that, the better. It's great to be able to rediscover what I have, discover what I'm willing to part with, and share with other artists. Where was I planning to? I think maybe here. Yoy. I can't seem to talk and do at the same time. Anyway, so there's that. I went to a town-wide garage sale on the weekend, and I guess I'll be doing a thrift haul video about that sometime soon. So there are those things to deal with. And it's just, yoy. These nails are at a good length. I should be able to pick stuff up. Anyway, I don't know. I guess that all I'm saying is there's no rest for the wicked. And I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. I've been seeing some videos where people who bought stuff from me in the last live sale, or the last time I was a guest seller, and they're loving the things. So that is gratifying because, like for instance, I had a whole lot that I had bought off what were called Canadian Scribblers, Canadian Scribbler Diaries, and they ranged in age from, or vintage from, 1911 to 1940, was it? Or 24? I can't remember. Anyway, that was an embarrassment of riches, so to speak. Whoops, crooked. I don't like crooked. So, through the generosity of Angela, I'm able to showcase things like that and get them into the hands of people who otherwise would never encounter something like that. I didn't know that they exist, and I'm in Canada, for heaven's sake. So now this seems like a cavernous space here, so maybe I'll just plunk this down. And maybe I will have to use this circle. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of good, because really I wouldn't have a lot of the stuff that I have if people hadn't been willing to part with it. You know, whether it's in a live sale, through Happy Mail, through thrifting, or whatever. Oh, missed one. And we will cut this. Now, because of the size, oh, I see a little guy's lifting. Because of the size, I'm not going to be able, I don't think, no, for sure not. That didn't stick worth a darn. I'm not going to be able to get this into my little favorite Fiskars cutter until I actually cut a length, or cut the height down a bit. Okay. Now, because I have not yet scarred this side of my mat that I have here to film on, I want to keep my streak alive. I'll just reach for this. Now, oh, this is a plain one. Okay, we are going to, oh, you know what? I have my big cutter here. Why don't I just do that, and then I'm not fooling around with cutting mats and knives and rulers and measuring. Let me just pull this thing out. I've got both my cutters, my favorite cutters, in a wooden crate in the knee hole of my desk. Now, if I can open this up, this does take a bigger area than I have available, or that's in the, that is in the viewing area of my camera. So you're going to have to, I guess, be content with that. Okay, keeping it right side up. Just trying to get some of the glue off my hands. I'm going to begin, well, first of all, let me just cut these little tiny overhangs off, because they won't allow me to square this up. Oh, that's it. Okay, so we can see that this is where I tore it out of the book, and I never really go right to the top of it either, so I'm going to begin by straightening that edge. And you know, these things are kind of only as good as their manufacturing and our treatment of them. So I think, I don't really have proof that they've gone out of square, but I hope you can see that you can get it flush against either these, this thing here and the same version at the bottom. But just as a way to double check, you can line it up also with these grid marks on here. You know, just as a kind of checking to see that in fact it is square. Okay, now this is still the top, so let's pretend, let's see how tall this is. About 8 inches. So I could begin by cutting off what could be a belly band or a side pocket. Oh, and how wide did I say this was? Was it 11 inches? Pretty well, not quite, but close enough. So by looking, okay, 11 inches, say I want my belly band to be maybe 2.5 inches. 11 minus 2.5 would be hey, the sun is out. So much for the showers. So what is that, 7.5? Oh no, that can't be right. 11 minus 2.5 would be 8.5. Yeah, that sounds more like it. You don't come to this channel for math, let's just say that. Okay, so I've lined this up at the 8.5 mark, which means that that's automatically going to be whatever I said it was going to be. Okay, so we're going to keep these face down, and we'll do the big reveal at the end. So now we're left with, what, 8.5? Yeah. So we could cut it smack dab in the middle, the long way. I mean this way. Maybe I'm going to turn it that way and get get pockets, because that would give us, I said 8.5, so the pockets would be 4. If I cut this in half again, it would be 4.5 wide. So again, you know, the depth of pocket, there's no one way to do that. So I'm doing 4.25 now. And again, oh, hit my knuckle. So 2 pockets. Now that leaves me with what? And the beauty of this, and I have both these Fisker cutters in my Amazon list. The beauty of this is that it does a 12 by 12 piece of paper. And best of all, self-sharpening blade. You never have to replace the blade. Plus, there's enough heft to it that it's, you know, it's going to hold up over time better than some other things do, as well as it's heavy enough that's going to hold paper down. It's going to not shift and slip and so on. Okay, so roughly I've got 5.25 by 8.5. So I'm not doing a tall skinny, so I don't want to do tall pockets. I could, what did I say this was? 5.5. So 5.5 would be 2 3/4, which is rather, oh, let's just go for it. We'll get 4 tags out of this. I don't really like doing multiple page cuts in one. So again, 4.25 is what we are left with. So those 2 are like so. And we'll do, all right, so this one, just to shake things up a bit, why don't we do maybe 3 inches? That'll almost be square. And then we have a taller one. Okay, this thing folds up to save space if you don't have, you know, if you can't afford the real estate to keep such a thing open. And I find that since I brought it and have it under my desk, that I use it far more than I did before. It was like the equivalent of a treadmill. All kinds of things were being stacked on it. It wasn't being used. Okay. Boom. Oh, I thought I was keeping everything upright. So maybe it's boom. Boom. What the heck? I'm all confused here. Well, we won't. Okay, this was on the side here. I mean, not that it's a puzzle that has to be reconstructed. Apparently, I'm reconstructing the puzzle. Not very easily. Oh, there should be an end piece here. Okay, so this would have been here. This guy was at the bottom. Okay. Yeah, that's that. That's that. So there's the masterboard put back together. But let's look at these things in isolation. That's really good, I would say, other than there's that gap there. But that could be, you know, a label could be added, or, you know, a little cluster of some sort. So that one's good. This is kind of interesting. Again, there are some open spaces that might need a little help, but again, that's fine. This one is good. It has that built-in focal point. This one is cute as well. Again, you know, you kind of have to look at them in their own, you know, take each one separately and decide if it needs something more. But at this point, I've created 3, 6, 7 pieces of something that is ready to use. So let's just, for the heck of it, do I have that? Look at this purple cascade here. I don't even remember if I've sewn these. No, I didn't. Remember, this was the slip cover, the More Luck Than Brains slip cover. Okay, let's just pick all this up and see what we see. So that could be a belly band. That could be a pocket. Oh, this could also be a side pocket. I was going to say, did I manage to glue a hair into that? No, I didn't. Journaling cards, you know, pockets. Like, they all have, when you're working in a colorway, even if there's some kind of bluish elements brought into the mix, it's all going to work. So that is the color theory lesson of the day. Anyway, okay, guys, I will let you go. Let's just stand up and see how long we've been. Oh my goodness, 58 minutes. But there were several things that I've covered. The basics of masterboards, the use it, don't store it, showing my organizational system for fussy cuts, and yeah, I'm pleased with how I used up a number of images. I also have those bigger ones that I still can do something with. And the next video, I'm going to commit to you that the next video will be me probably showing the last, yeah, let's say that it'll probably be a flip through of this one. And by then I will have, I don't even know where my other cover, oh, here's my other cover. Remember, this was the hog, the Canadian national record for swine. I have been, when you're not looking, building on an idea for a journal topper, and perhaps I'm ready to reveal that too. So this obviously needs to be sewn in. Yeah, we're definitely not preserving this spine, so I can definitely sew these in. I just have to make sure that I didn't want to sew or whatever, anything more onto these pages. Anyway, yes, that is what is coming because enough is enough. I'm going to need another playlist called Enough is Enough. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here. I hope that, and I don't know, is it just me or is there a heck of a lot of lavender and purple and mauve showing up on YouTube videos? It seems like a lot of people have, drunk that Kool-Aid as well. Oh, and I have another, ay. Again, purple as far as the eye can see. Okay, guys, we'll see you in the next one. Bye.